When I first reviewed the Visuo 809, I absolutely loved it. I then flew the Battle Sharks edition, and that was even better with 20 minutes flight time. Now in from Banggood is the Visuo XS812, and it's even got a GPS. So into us from Banggood is this brand new drone, and I'm going to change this review up a little bit. Rather than unboxing it, let's dive straight into the flight test and see how it flies, and then we'll come back after that to unbox it. Enjoy the flight test. So here we are on a very cold day in England where we've got loads of snow. The temperature is about 0 degrees, maybe a little bit lower here. And so therefore that does have an implication when testing new drones like this 812. Remember that lithium polymer batteries aren't particularly well suited to cold climates, and so battery life will be much lower. That applies to all drones that use lithium polymer, including DJI drones, etc. So this uses lithium polymer. I'm probably expecting to get much shorter times than the 15 minutes that this is claimed to have. However, the other Visuos that we've test flown have lived up to their flight time estimations and been really impressive with flight times of around 15 to 20 minutes. So pretty damn good. So this is the Visuo. Now, one thing quick to note about this, but the camera is detachable. The whole unit slides out. The SD card goes in there, but it does mean that there is potential for upgrading the camera in this drone, which is a really nice feature. Now, of course, the drone camera doesn't tilt dynamically via any controls. You have to tilt it manually, but I really do think that the drone companies like Visuo have potential for creating great drones in the future. All this really needs is EIS, electronic image stabilization, or a tiny little mechanical gimbal, and this will be a brilliant low-cost drone. Anyway, I've got 2 batteries. I will be doing this flight test pretty quickly just because of the temperature issue that I mentioned. So battery in, and let's turn it on. And the lights on the front light up and the bottom lights start flashing as well. Turn on the transmitter, and the first thing you need to do is put throttle to full and then back to 0, and that binds the 2. Now we could fly it immediately, but there's a few things we should really do first. So the first thing is to calibrate the accelerometers. So you do that by pressing this button here, and that basically flashes the lights, and then it stabilizes the accelerometers on the drone. Next thing we want to do now is the calibration, and the way that we do that is, if we look at the lights at the moment, they're flashing sort of slowly. We'll put both sticks down to the right, and you see the lights are now flashing very fast. What we now need to do is, just like any normal drone calibration, hold the drone like that, and we need to rotate around. And at the moment, the lights are still flashing on the drone. I can see the front and the back lights flashing. We need to wait until the lights, I think on the rear, go solid. Then you hold the drone facing downwards like that, just like any other drone calibration, doing the calibration dance. I'm sure you've all done this at some point in the past. So the next thing, once you've calibrated it, is to connect to the Wi-Fi network. Now, I always put my phones on airplane mode just to stop incoming calls, which can affect these apps, and you don't want to lose concentration whilst you're flying. So airplane mode, but then enable Wi-Fi. We're connected to the drone now, which you can see is this access point with no password. The app that you then need is called XSW GPS. And when you fire that up, then we press play, and that takes us into the main app, where we can see that it's telling us it's ready to take off. And also, if we move the drone around, you'll see there's our live feed. Now, the camera is much higher quality than a camera in the other Visuos we've had, so the live feed is a bit latent there. However, it's not bad. Now I'm going to point the camera up a little bit more. There we go, that's quite a nice shot there. You can see the clouds moving by. Under settings, we've got lots of options here, waypoint height and everything like that. Now, that's quite important actually, waypoint height, because when you start the waypoints, it will automatically go to that altitude. And obviously, if it's too low, you might crash into things. I'm also going to change the speed of the waypoint. and that will probably be fine. Some options for map there and some other transmission quality options. Now it's quite interesting. Transmission quality is set to 480p. If you set it higher, your range may be decreased, your flight range, because 720p live broadcast is going to use more Wi-Fi bandwidth. So I'm going to leave it on 480. Also, top right hand corner, we've got a map, so it shows us where we are, which is pretty cool. That's obviously used for a lot of the Waypoint stuff. Then across the top we've got all of our live GPS information. Now that's very cool, and of course we're not used to that at all with the other Visuo drones. Altitude, distance, coordinates. We've also got the battery health and the signal quality. Now video recording, we've got an option on the app to record video there. You can see the countdown is now running, or the timer, sorry, on how long we've been recording for. But you can also record via the transmitter if you press the video record button on here. Now I've noticed that the file size is slightly different when you use one option or the other. They're both stored to the SD card, but I think the transmitter recordings seem to be a higher bit rate. So you need to experiment with that a bit, and also of course you can take photos as well by pressing that button. It's a shame that the drone doesn't indicate that it's recording. It's a shame the lights don't flash on the front like I think they did on the older Visuos. So it's a bit annoying because you've only got the app to tell you whether it's recording or not, but we'll start it recording anyway. And let's take off. Now with the camera tilted as I've got it set, you can see the prop in the screen there, so you might want to tilt it down a little bit more for recording. But in fact, yeah, let's tilt it down a little bit more just before we take off. There we go. And let's go. So I'm taking off on my lovely Freewell launch mat here, and that will be a good guide for us as well when we do the return to home to see how accurate. Taking off is exactly like a DJI drone, copying them all the time. Sticks to the middle and down, which starts the prop spinning, and then we can just use the throttle to go up. And if I now be completely hands off the controls like that, the drone is holding its position. Now, when you remember, at the time of filming, this drone is about, I think, 65 or 70 pounds, which is about $80. When you consider for that, you're getting a GPS drone with loads of spares, a good flight time, and position hold that works really, really well. As you can see, that's not bad at all. Now, unfortunately, there's quite a bit of wind coming in behind me, and so the drone is bouncing all over the place, unfortunately. It is a bit of a wind trap, this area, but it's still doing a really good job of holding its position. Now let's fly this around a little bit just to see if you can fly it like a traditional Visuo. I loved wanging the other Visuos around the sky. They're great training drones. So here we go. It's got altitude hold, of course, as well, so you don't need to be worried about that. This is on its slowest speed setting, so let's put it up. That's better. Here we go. Yay! So what you tend to find with a lot of drones that have a GPS on board is that flying them like this, they tend to want to always try and hold their position, so it can be a little bit frustrating to fly, but this one's doing really well. Let's see if it's got a third speed setting. Yes, it has. So this is on the third one. Let's do a really close speed run. Now the great thing, of course, about this, you can use it as a training drone if you don't want to smash up your Mavic whilst learning to fly. But if you panic with this, you can let go of the controls and it will stop and hold its position, just like that. Whereas with the other Visuo drones and other budget brushed drones, you let go of the controls and of course it's just going to carry on and drift. That position hold is looking really, really good. Let's get a bit of altitude. Now, as I said, it's very cold, so we're not going to get a long flight time here. And so I want to make sure that we test as much as we can, getting it up nice and high there. And let's just let go of the controls. Now remember, it hasn't got EIS, electronic image stabilization, which is a shame. But look at that position hold. Now I'm going to stop recording video. Let's take a photo. And another one. Let's rotate it around and take another photo. Beautiful day. You can't beat snowy scenery for stuff like this. So I'm going to take it a bit further away. Let's take it all the way over there. Let's do a bit of a range test. So at the moment it's saying that I am 70 meters away. It's still in sight. We're now 90 meters, 100 meters away, can still see it. 120 meters, still nice and visible. 140 meters, still see it. 160 meters, still visible. And it's still going. This signal is incredible. 190 meters, still going. And I can still see it. 205 meters. Signal's getting a little bit broken up. I can still see it visually. 202 meters. And it's not going to go any further away than that. So it's got a... And there you go, the transmitter's telling us as well that it doesn't want to fly any further away. That's really good, and I'm still getting a live stream on there, and it still looks good. What I'm going to do is, let's try the return to home. So I'll press the return to home button on the transmitter. The drone is now turning around by itself. I can see it rotating. It's ascending up as well in altitude. And what's really nice as well, a lot of these drones, when the battery's going low or there's any kind of problem, the drone doesn't transmit that back to the transmitter, so you're entirely dependent on looking at the drone visually. But it's nice that the transmitter on this one is beeping to let us know that there's a problem. So it's coming back, flying back nice and smoothly. Now this will be interesting to see just how close it gets to our landing pad. The transmitter's stopped beeping, probably because it's now within a safe range from us. Here it is. It's coming in, it's correcting itself a little bit, flying a bit closer towards us and slowing down now. It's doing this with really good precision, it seems. You know, it zoomed towards us at quite some speed, but now it's slowed down and it's coming in quite subtle. Let's see what it's doing now. Looks like it might be starting to descend now. Yep, here it comes, coming down nice and slowly as well. Now what I'll do is I'll stop it from descending till completely landing. We'll just see how close it gets to our landing mat, which is there. Here it comes. It's looking very, very close. Remember, it's got no optical flow. I'm going to stop it from descending there, but that's pretty good. I'm really impressed by that. So that is very, very impressive. Return to home works beautifully. Right, what else can we try? Let's try Follow Me. That's always a good one. That's quite a popular one as well. So let's get me in shot first of all. It is a shame this doesn't have EIS, but I don't think it'll be long before drones like this do have EIS. So I'm going to press the little man icon on the screen. Now remember, it's going to follow the transmitter. It's got no visual follow me, so it's now moved backwards. So if I now start to move around, it's a shame it's windy, because drones without EIS do need a calm day. It's rotating to look at me, and it's rotating to keep me in shot, which is really good. Let's see, is it going to follow me as well? Yeah, it is actually coming towards me. Now, GPS-based follow me isn't very good generally, because it doesn't focus on you. It's just looking at the coordinates of the transmitter and the coordinates of the phone. Now if I walk towards it, let's see what it does. Oh, that's confusing it, isn't it? I'm walking under it. So I'm expecting it'll probably turn around in a minute once it realises where I am. Yeah, here we go. I say it's backing off and it's rotating around to get me back in shot. Yeah, I mean, don't buy a drone that doesn't have optical follow me if you're only looking for follow me, because it just doesn't work very well. But it is following the GPS coordinates, it's working, it's just never going to be that good with a drone like this. So let's try to bring it back. So we'll turn off follow me mode. Let's try the orbit button. So I'll press orbiting on the transmitter here. Let's see what it does. It's ascending, it's turning away from us, it's flying away. Transmitter's beeping as well. Oh, it's so cold. Battery's 29%, 31%, so as I said, with the coldness, we're not doing too bad to get a flight time as long as we are. So it's now turned around to face me. What's it going to do? Okay, so it's basically flies in a circle around wherever it was when you press the orbit button. You can change the speed of that by using the transmitter sticks. And you can change the direction as well, I think. Yeah, you can speed it up and slow it down, so I've just slowed it down a bit. Okay, so it's kind of like a point of interest feature. Right, just before, it looks like our battery is going to, yeah. So let's bring it in, I'll land it manually. It's certainly a great fun drone to fly, just like the other Visuos. They are brilliant, brilliant aircraft. They're a good size as well. Okay, there we go. Sticks down and up we go. So because we've just been flying it, it's already acquired 17 satellites. You can see the number of satellites in the middle at the top there. Now I've put a battery in that isn't fully charged, but it should be just about good enough for us. So waypoint mission. So we'll zoom in, we'll put some waypoints in. There, and then back to us. And you can set the altitude of each waypoint as well. That's quite cool. So we'll make it go a bit higher when it comes back to us. And then we'll make it stop at 4. So I'll press play. Start recording as well, and off it goes. I'm actually going to put the transmitter down. Now, as I said, with the waypoint missions, just make sure you're careful with your altitude settings, because if you set it too low and you don't read the map carefully, you might make it go straight into a tree. Off it goes on its little waypoint mission. As I said, the transmitter is now down on the ground and it's doing this by itself. I'm just shocked at the capability of these cheap drones. I mean, I see people investing constantly in these expensive drones, and most of them don't know how to fly manually. And so a drone like this, if you've got an expensive $1,000 Mavic and you want to get a bit adventurous with it and fly it around at speed, don't risk doing it with your Mavic. This is the sort of drone you can buy to perfect your flying skills, to understand orientation, to understand how to fly it when it's coming towards you, which of course where all the controls are reversed. It's just a really good way to practice. How's it getting on? It's still going. There you go, it's turning around now, so it's now heading towards its next waypoint. You can see that lamppost that we're flying over. That's close. Actually, looking at the drone, it's not actually as close as it would appear on video. But the video is looking really nice there. The quality of it, now I know that you're watching the review now. I have had a look at the video quality. It's not beautiful. It's not really 5 megapixel. The sensor definitely isn't anyway. And it is a shame, because a drone like this could just be so good if it had a great camera and if it had EIS, or even a micro little 2-axis gimbal, because when you think about the cost of this drone, you're getting quite a lot. Anyway, waypoint mission works really nicely. I'm not going to let that finish because it's going to take ages, so I'm going to stop that waypoint mission by pressing the waypoint button. There we go. Go back to the live view, so it's just resumed a hover basically. Let's turn it around. Let's actually try flying it from the live view rather than looking at it. And with this, it's quite capable to do that. There is a little bit of latency, obviously, as you'd expect with Wi-Fi, but it's not bad at all. You can see me there in the distance. Let's fly it back. So let's go at speed. What speed mode are we in? Now we're in the 3rd speed mode. Yeah, here it comes. So overall, this drone is great fun to fly, just as I expected from being a Visuo. They do make great budget drones. The benefit of this one is that GPS unit, which for a beginner means that you can fly and play and practice with a little bit more confidence. Oh, that wind is really coming in now. It does mean that you can be a bit more adventurous with the drone without that massive fear of losing it, because if you do just let go of the controls, it's not going to drift. If you get it too far away and you panic, let go of the controls, press the return to home button, and it will come back because of that GPS. So anyway, let's take a closer look at this drone. Let's unbox it. Let's see what you get in that package and get for your money. Links to it are in the video description. If you're interested in buying one, support our channel by clicking that link and enjoy the rest of the review. So there you go, you've seen how this little thing flies, and now let's take a look inside the box. Now, just also to note, there are quite a few different versions of this drone, so it's worth making sure that you've got the one that you actually want. So if you want the one that you've actually seen in this review, click the link in the video description, and it's this one here. So make sure you get that one. So without further ado, let's see what you get in the box. Now, it's pretty much the same layout and design as the other Visuo aircraft. It's really nicely presented. You get a battery here, of course. Battery's a one cell 1800 milliamp battery, so quite a big capacity battery, hence why you get such a good flight time. In fact, with this quad, it's about 15 minutes, which, bearing in mind it's got the additional hardware of a GPS, etc., that's not bad at all. Then there's the quad all neatly folded up, and obviously this is supposed to be a kind of Mavic clone, but I think we're moving away from that Mavic clone concept. All drones look like this, let's face it, and this doesn't really look like a Mavic so much these days, but it's so lightweight, it just weighs virtually nothing. You've got this camera underneath, which is a 5 megapixel camera, and so obviously that gives you much better quality than the previous Visuo aircraft. You can see the lens here is much bigger than before, and that lens does swivel as well. You can point it down as much as that, which should be adequate for most people. The battery very easily just slots into the bottom like that, and it's easily removed by just pushing on this little tab here. Then you've got the power button here, and when you slide that on, you've got the lights on the front of this little quad, and there are also lights on the legs. Now these are used with this version to indicate the GPS status as well. Folding arms are really nice, and like the previous Visuo models, they're really rigid as well. The other big benefit of a folding arm like that is if you do happen to crash, the arm is going to fold in instead of breaking. So that's much nicer compared to some other budget aircraft. The motors obviously are brushed, they're not brushless, but you can't expect anything other than that on a cheap budget drone like this. That's where the motor's located, and then it's driving a large gear here. So the transmitter is looking very DJI Phantom, very big but nice in the hands, and the gimbals are really smooth on this as well. Lots more buttons than previous models as well to cater for all of the additional functionality. On the top of the transmitter, we've got some shoulder buttons, one to set the different speeds. On the other side, we've then got one that controls the orbiting feature, which obviously uses the GPS. There's then a whole host of buttons on here for video, taking photos, for trimming the gimbals, and also your GPS button. So remember, it's got GPS, we've even got a return to home button this time. Now I've actually bought the version that's got 3 batteries, and it's not a lot more than the base model with 1, so it's definitely worth buying that because you'll end up with almost an hour's worth of flight time. I've also got prop guards in there, a screwdriver, and also some spare props, so you get lots of bits with it as well. And finally, there's also a phone holder. Now remember that this drone does connect to your mobile phone as well as the transmitter. So this attaches onto the transmitter and gives you a live feed whilst you're flying it. So there we go, that's what you get in the package, and considering the price of this at around £68 or about $80 with the 5 megapixel camera, 1080p video, long flight time, GPS and some intelligent flight modes, and live streaming to your mobile phone, I just love the Visuo, and I really do think that companies like this have big potential to produce something incredible. They seem to be slowly but surely increasing the functionality, for example, adding GPS. But I do think that over time, budget manufacturing companies like Visuo may become a challenger for DJI, but probably not for a while. Now, I review lots of budget drones. Generally, the ones I keep at the moment to play with and fly around are the Visuos. Links are in the video description. Be sure to click them and take a look, and subscribe to the channel if you're not already a subscriber. Give the video a thumbs up and comment below with your thoughts. Thanks for watching.